the conflict of interest here is pretty obvious.
He is defunding organizations that regulate his companies. So he is weakening the people who would have weakened him.
So Elon Musk DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, or so-called, has been axing staff from an agency, a government department that regulates Tesla, as this headline says. Car safety experts at the NHTSA, which regulates Tesla, axed by DOGE. So the NHTSA is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, if you didn't know. And why this really matters is because, as this headline on Reddit says, Tesla has a lot riding on the swift success of its so-called full self-driving software. It's hoping to roll that out soon. So the conflict of interest here is pretty obvious with Elon Musk. You know, he said he would excuse himself from any conflicts of interest. Is this a conflict of interest? And what's he actually doing here? Now, if you didn't see yesterday's video, it was a long-time ex-friend of Elon's talking about what he's really up to, his hidden agenda. I'm just going to play this very short clip to show you what he actually said that Elon is up to with Doge and these conflicts of interest.
They're parading that he's saving taxpayers' money. What he's actually doing is he is defunding organizations that regulate his companies. So he is weakening the people who would have weakened him.
So where he says he's fighting for the American taxpayer.
Respectfully, I say that's bullshit. No, I know him too well to understand that this is a charade.
Okay, so that was yesterday's video. I'm going to put a link to that at the end of this video if you're watching on YouTube, or in the description if you're not, because it does go into quite a lot of that in depth. So he talked about free speech there, but he talked about the conflicts of interest and what Elon's really doing there, tearing apart government agencies. It's what he wants to do. He's all about power and control. That guy said, it was Philip Lowe, an old-time friend, as I said. And as it relates to this, it's very relevant, isn't it? Because he's in here with the National Safety Organization that regulates Tesla, and he's cutting staff here. It's not actually a huge amount of staff, but the message this is sending to that administration about what he could do and the massive conflict of interest here. Let's get into the article to see a bit more detail on this. Job cuts at the US traffic safety regulator instigated by Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency disproportionately hit staff assessing self-driving risks, hampering oversight of the technology on which the world's richest man has staked the future of Tesla. So there's literally trillions of dollars, according to Elon himself, if this self-driving software actually works, if he can get the regulation through to have it on roads. He says it's worth trillions in market cap to Tesla. So there's a huge amount riding on this. And he doesn't like scrutiny of this, that he could be having conflicts of interest. Of roughly 30 National Highway Traffic Safety Administration workers dismissed in February as part of Musk's campaign to shrink the federal workforce. Many were in the Office of Vehicle Automation Safety. People familiar with the situation told the Financial Times. So in the very section of the agency that regulates Tesla and the automation software that he's trying to get through to get these cars on the road. And it goes on. The cuts are part of mass firings by DOGE that have affected at least 20,000 federal employees and raised widespread concern over potential conflicts of interest for Musk, given many of the targeted agencies regulate or have contracts with his businesses. So this is not the only department where there's conflicts of interest. The NHTSA, which has been a thorn in Tesla's side for years, has 8 active investigations into the company after receiving and publishing more than 10,000 complaints from members of the public. So as his longtime friend there said, that this is what he's doing. He's going in there into agencies that actually regulate his companies and trying to stop that regulation, making it deregulated, And the investigations suddenly stop when he would do this. Of course, cut the staff responsible for investigations. So morale at the agency, which has ordered dozens of Tesla recalls and delayed the rollout of the group's self-driving and driver assistance software, has plunged following DOGE's opening salvo of job cuts, according to current and former NHTSA staff. So this would be part of the strategy or the tactics to hurt morale there and to warn we're going to cut more if you regulate too much or if you look too much at Tesla. Massive conflict of interest as far as I can see it here. And you can see here this headline: Friday night firings, Elon Musk DOGE initiates unprecedented mass layoffs of federal employees. So that wasn't this department, but this is across many departments. So this is not the only one. And it goes on. There is a clear conflict of interest in allowing someone with a business interest influence over appointments and policy at the agency regulating them, said one former senior NHTSA figure who was not among the DOGE-led layoffs. Remaining agency employees are now warily watching the experience of other federal regulators that have crossed Musk's companies. So yes, see, it's a climate of fear there. Are we going to have our jobs cut if we do anything that Musk doesn't like? Clear conflict of interest. Musk has attacked the Federal Aviation Administration and Federal Communications Commission to benefit SpaceX, said another former top official at the regulator. Why would he spare NHTSA? So going after the very agencies that regulate his companies. Musk has repeatedly clashed with federal and state authorities. Last year, he called for the FAA chief to resign and sharply criticized the FCC for revoking a 2022 deal for his satellite communications company Starlink to provide rural broadband. So he called it lawfare before the election, lawfare against him, and now he's in a position to cut these agencies, to attack these agencies clearly for his own interest, for the interest of his company. And this headline here about that: air traffic control centers struggle with understaffing amidst DOGE layoffs. So going into those very agencies and safety being at risk with the FAA in particular. Remember those headlines back then when it first started happening. So this article continues. The NHTSA said in a statement that safety remained its top priority and that it would enforce the law on any car maker in line with its rules and investigations. The agency's investigations have been and will continue to be independent, it added. So they're sticking to their guns here. We'll have to see what happens. So the scrutiny on Musk, people know that he could have conflicts of interest here. So it's like he's just doing enough. I'm sure he'd like to cut a lot more than this. Musk, DOGE, and Tesla did not immediately respond to requests for comment. What a surprise that is. The dismissals instigated by email on Valentine's Day affected roughly 4% of the agency's 800 staff and included employees who had been promised promotions as well as newly hired workers, according to 7 people familiar with the matter. So 4%, not a huge deal, but as I said, kind of a warning sign. We can do this, we're doing this, and be careful what you do perhaps. Clear conflict of interest. Staff working on vehicle automation safety were disproportionately affected. Some of the people said because the division was only formed in 2023, so comprised mainly new hires still on probation. So the very agency, the very part of the agency that Elon is most concerned with. Now, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, by the way, I'd really appreciate it if you remember to hit that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. It really does help. Thanks. Right, on with the article. We have here the email cited poor performance as a reason for dismissals. However, one senior figure still at the NHTSA rejected the notion that this was the basis of the layoffs. Another said morale was low after some high talent losses. So this poor performance, this has been cited at other agencies too, other departments, and the people there have said that it's basically BS. They're just using that as kind of a fake reason. DOGE's actions could hamper Tesla's plans, according to one laid-off agency worker who said the dismissals would certainly weaken NHTSA's ability to understand self-driving technologies. This is an office that should be on the cutting edge of how to handle AVs, autonomous vehicles, and figuring out what future rulemaking should look like, said another former NHTSA employee. It would be ironic if DOGE slowed down Tesla. I don't think Elon would do this if he thought that was the case. He obviously thinks it's going to speed it up. It's going to help him. So whatever they say there, I think he's probably got another plan, a different plan to get through, to rush through. There is a lot of pressure. I said trillions of dollars literally riding on this, his wealth, his power. They're under a lot of pressure because of the cybercab. As we see here, the company has a lot riding on the swift success of its so-called full self-driving software. Musk has promised customers and investors that Tesla will launch a driverless ride-hailing service in Austin, Texas by June, which is not far away now, and start production of a fleet of autonomous cybercabs next year. So much pressure riding on this. He'll be really wanting to get this through, get the okay at a national level with Trump's help to get this through so he can roll out these cabs, start producing them, and put more market value on Tesla, which has been selling fewer vehicles, deliveries declining. So they really want to get this rolled out. A lot of pressure on this. To do so, Tesla needs an exemption from the NHTSA to operate a non-standard driverless vehicle on American roads because Musk cybercabs have neither pedals nor a steering wheel. So this is interesting, an exemption. It wouldn't surprise me if they installed somebody loyal to Trump and Trump said, do this for Elon, no matter what the consequences. It would not surprise me given the state of this administration, what they're actually doing. And at the same time, adding to the pressure, we've got Waymo, who is, operated by Google or overarching owned by Alphabet. Waymo already shot up to 150,000 passengers a week. So these are paid rides. Waymo's been on the roads. They're expanding city by city. People say, well, the Tesla pumpers, the Tesla sock puppets, talk about how it's so expensive. Waymo's so expensive they'll never make money. But this is run by Alphabet, by Google. So they've got very deep pockets and they're making this work. 150,000 paid rides, and people who've ridden in it, I haven't because I'm not in the US, say that it's very good. And it has been running in more and more places, including Austin, I believe, where Elon is planning to first start. So there's already Waymo cabs there. And letting DOGE fire those in the autonomous division is sheer madness, they say. We should be lobbying to add people to NHTSA, said one manager at Tesla. They need to be developing a national framework for AVs. Otherwise, Tesla doesn't have a prayer for scale in FSD or robotaxis. As I said, I think Elon probably has a different plan here. No matter what people say that this is not a good thing, he obviously sees it as advantageous for him. The NHTSA's decision on the cybercab exemption and the future of its proposed AV STEP program to evaluate and oversee driverless and assisted cars will be closely watched, considering the high stakes for Tesla. Actually, I wonder, thinking about his strategy and his tactics here, maybe he'll say that they're not ready, the agency's not ready to regulate it. So if his technology's not ready, maybe it's a way of delaying it and saying it's not his fault. That's another possibility. Just thought of that right now. Current and former NHTSA officials have privately expressed concerns about Musk's ambitious rollout plans and how he would wield his influence to ensure a speedy launch of the cybercab and unsupervised FSD on US roads. At full self-driving supervised, it has to be supervised right now. I understand that Waymo has kind of remote supervision, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla does exactly the same thing, where they hire people to have remote supervision, kind of like drones do. The government could speed up the AV STEP application process and weaken it in some way so the safety case is less onerous to meet, one person told the Financial Times. Elon wanting to control the situation, to have a lot of power and control over how this happens, how this gets rolled out, as his longtime friend Philip Lowe said he likes to do, about power and control. So what do you think about this? Do you think that this is what Elon's trying to do? Is he trying to get the regulations more lax, get through what he wants to? Or do you think that he's actually trying to delay it so he doesn't have to say that his technology doesn't work properly? This is all very political with DOGE. He's so in there with politics right now. And speaking of politics, if you don't know already, I'm going to plug this shamelessly, my other channel, The Art of Value Politics. As I keep saying, I've sometimes done videos on here about wider subjects in politics, but the YouTube algorithm in particular likes people to be niche topics. So I've started another channel for wider politics. There's 3 videos up there. Just this week it started, and we're up to 271 subscribers already, which is great. I'm going to put a link to that in the pinned comment and the description for people not on YouTube. So go over there and subscribe, or check out those videos and subscribe if you want to. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put a link here to that related video with Philip Lowe, Elon's ex-friend, talking about that. If you missed that video yesterday, do go and see that now. It's relevant to this video too. And also, I'm going to put a subscribe link on screen. If you're watching on YouTube, do subscribe here if you're not already. And thanks for watching this one, everyone. And I'll see you in the next one.